Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show. Before I get on out of here, I had to talk about a story that's very, very important. And albeit indirectly, it involves Caitlin Clark.
When Stephen A. Smith walks onto the set of First Take with that specific look in his eyes, everyone in the sports world knows a massive storm is about to hit. But nobody listening was ready for the absolute atomic bomb he dropped concerning the single biggest storyline in professional basketball today. For months, the conversation surrounding women's professional basketball was dominated by heated rivalries, petty commentary, physical fouls, and relentless debates over who truly deserved the spotlight. But behind closed doors, away from the loud television debates and social media noise, a monumental shift was quietly being executed by the greatest basketball player to ever live, alongside the most transcendent rookie the sport has seen in decades. Stephen A. Smith officially confirmed that Michael Jordan and Caitlin Clark have finalized a jaw-dropping, revolutionary business deal that fundamentally rewrites the rules of sports economics. This is not just another routine endorsement deal or a standard corporate press release. This is a cold, calculated power grab move that completely bypasses the traditional WNBA corporate structure, places massive financial power directly into Clark's hands, and leaves the league's old guard in absolute tears over their lost authority. To fully understand how this earth-shattering partnership came to life, you have to look back at the chaotic storm that welcomed Caitlin Clark when she first entered the professional ranks. During her college career at Iowa, she didn't just play basketball. She turned the entire collegiate game into must-watch television, regularly pulling in television ratings that surpassed the NBA playoffs and the men's NCAA tournament. When she was drafted first overall by the Indiana Fever, the economic impact was instant and overwhelming. Arenas across the country sold out in minutes. Visiting teams had to move their games to massive NBA venues just to meet fan demand. And her jersey sold out faster than any rookie draft pick in American sports history. Yet despite bringing a tide of cash, attention, and corporate sponsors that lifted the entire league, the reaction from inside the ecosystem was astonishingly cold. Instead of celebrating this unprecedented wave of prosperity, veteran players and old-school commentators appeared defensive, minimizing her accomplishments and framing her rapid rise as nothing more than a media-driven illusion. The tension on the court reached a boiling point fast. Opposite teams brought intense physical pressure that routinely crossed the line from hard-nosed competition into personal hostility. Off the court, high-profile analysts and former legends made backhanded comments on national podcasts, openly questioning if she could handle professional talent. Yet what those critics completely missed was the glaring financial absurdity sitting right beneath the surface. Clark came into a league where the maximum base salary for top veterans hovered around $250,000, while her draft position yielded a base contract worth under $80,000 a year. Meanwhile, her presence was generating tens of millions of dollars in fresh revenue, driving brand new television contracts, and forcing the league to finally fund full-time private charter flights for all teams. The financial math simply did not make sense, and it was only a matter of time before a heavy hitter from the business elite stepped in to correct the market. That heavy hitter turned out to be none other than his heiress himself, Michael Jordan. Fresh off selling his majority stake in the Charlotte Hornets for a staggering $3 billion, Jordan possessed an enormous war chest of liquidity and was actively searching for his next major play in global sports. Jordan had spent decades building Jordan Brand into a multi-billion-dollar cultural monolith, and he recognized the exact same iconic potential in Caitlin Clark. Industry insiders revealed that Jordan watched the media drama and veteran pushback with complete disbelief. He saw a once-in-a-generation talent being dragged down by a slow, outdated corporate model that refused to capitalize on her maximum market value. Jordan didn't see just an elite shooter. He saw a unique business machine capable of transforming global athletic apparel forever. And as history has proven time and again, when Michael Jordan sees a chance to crush the competition and dominate a market, he acts decisively, without asking anyone for permission. The breaking point arrived when Stephen A. Smith took to the microphone to break down the private maneuvers that had taken place behind locked doors in Chicago and Las Vegas. Smith revealed that Michael Jordan had personally stepped into the negotiations alongside top executives at Nike and Jordan Brand to create a customized business structure tailored specifically for Clark. The deal was far bigger than the reported $28 million sneaker contract that had previously made headlines. Stephen A. Smith confirmed that Jordan personally guaranteed Clark an unprecedented level of profit sharing, direct equity participation in exclusive retail lines, and total creative control over her brand identity. The agreement bypassed standard league licensing restrictions, effectively giving Clark an independent commercial machine backed directly by Jordan's infinite resources and global retail network. When the details of this arrangement started filtering through league headquarters, the reaction was pure panic. For decades, the Wnba maintained absolute centralized control over how its athletes marketed themselves, enforcing rigid boundaries around team rights, commercial deals, and personal branding. Salary caps were kept strict, ensuring that no individual player could gain enough financial weight to challenge the league's authority. But Jordan's bold power play smashed that model to pieces in a single move. By handing Clark direct equity and an independent global pipeline, Jordan gave a rookie more economic leverage and autonomy than the entire league administration possessed. Corporate executives realized instantly that their prized asset no longer needed their traditional machinery to build her empire, effectively stripping the front office of its leverage. The fallout inside player union meetings and team locker rooms was immediate, raw, and emotional. Veteran players who spent 10 to 15 years enduring low pay, difficult travel conditions, and minimal media coverage suddenly watched a rookie secure generational wealth and absolute independence in her very first year. Reports began circulating of tense emergency calls among veteran athletes and player reps who felt completely overshadowed and financially left behind. The bitterness that had been simmering all season exploded into full-scale frustration, with some figures arguing that such a deal created an unfair dynamic that completely broke team unity. But those complaints only exposed the growing desperation of an old guard that realized too late that the financial tide had permanently shifted away from them. Stephen A. Smith pulled zero punches when addressing this bitter wave of pushback live on national television. In a fiery monologue that instantly went viral across social media, Smith took direct aim at the critics and league veterans who continued to express resentment toward Clark. He called out the sheer hypocrisy of individuals who willingly enjoyed the newly funded private charter planes, expanded media coverage, and rising team valuations, while simultaneously tearing down the exact person responsible for making it happen. Smith pointed out that if the league had properly valued and marketed its product over the last 25 years, Jordan wouldn't have needed to step in and force a modern economic evolution. His sharp commentary laid bare the huge gap between old-school administrative thinking and the harsh realities of modern sports entertainment. And what happened next proved that this joint move was only the beginning of a much larger strategy. Sources close to Jordan's inner circle leaked information indicating that Jordan Brand and Clark's management team are already designing plans for independent off-season global exhibition tours. This blueprint would allow Clark to play high-profile televised games in major international markets during the winter months, earning massive appearance fees and broadcasting revenues without ever having to step foot in traditional foreign leagues. For years, elite female stars were forced to travel overseas, to countries like Russia or China, just to secure six-figure incomes during the off-season. Jordan's plan completely eliminates that necessity. offering a high-paying, ultra-luxurious alternative that keeps Clark fully in control of her health, time, and global image. The wave of panic hit executive suites even harder when whispers began circulating about long-term franchise expansion plans. With Jordan having billions in liquid cash from his Hornets sale and Clark possessing unprecedented market draw, reports surfaced that the duo could eventually lead an investment group aimed at acquiring a brand new expansion team in a major untapped market. Such a move would make Clark the first active player with a clear, structured pathway into direct team ownership upon retirement, creating a model of athlete empowerment never before seen in professional team sports. Executives at the top of the sports ladder suddenly realized they were no longer dealing with a standard rookie athlete, but rather an unstoppable economic alliance backed by the most ruthless competitor in sports business history. As sports media outlets continue to dissect the massive impact of Stephen A. Smith's reveal, the stark truth is becoming impossible for anyone to deny. The traditional sports establishment tried to contain, direct, and control a cultural phenomenon using an outdated rulebook built for a completely different era. But Michael Jordan and Caitlin Clark completely changed the game, using raw market leverage and financial power to create an empire that operates on its own terms. The tears, frustration, and political maneuvering coming from traditional league circles are simply the loud side effects of an outdated system realizing its authority has vanished. Stephen A. Smith didn't just break a news story. He documented the exact moment the balance of power in women's sports moved forever into the hands of the athletes themselves. The psychological impact on the league's locker rooms cannot be overstated, as the divide between the old era and the new reality grows wider by the day. For years, the prevailing consensus within women's basketball was that progress required collective patience, incremental salary growth, and absolute loyalty to the league's centralized brand. Players were taught to accept modest conditions, while waiting for traditional corporate sponsors to slowly recognize the value of their game. But Caitlin Clark's immediate, astronomical financial trajectory, turbocharged by Michael Jordan's direct intervention, completely exploded that patient mindset. Younger players entering the league are now looking at Clark's blueprint and realizing they no longer have to settle for the traditional ceiling set by league executives. The old narrative that players should simply be grateful for basic visibility has been thoroughly demolished by a bold new business model, where star power dictates terms to corporate management. This sudden shift has created unprecedented awkwardness during league events and press conferences, where senior executives find themselves constantly answering questions about an independent empire they have zero control over. When league representatives are asked about Clark's Jordan brand equity structure or the rumors of independent off-season tours, their answers are often guarded, cautious, and visibly uncomfortable. They are trapped in a position where they cannot publicly criticize the primary asset responsible for their historic ratings surge, yet they are deeply terrified of the precedent her deal sets for future contract negotiations. If future stars follow Clark's lead and build independent, multi-million-dollar equity networks outside the league's ecosystem, the centralized authority that executives fought for decades to preserve will become completely irrelevant. To make matters even more complicated for the league's front office, the sheer speed at which Jordan Brand is rolling out Clark's signature line is setting new benchmarks for the athletic retail industry. Traditional shoe deals for female athletes often involved prolonged development cycles, limited regional distribution, and minimal marketing budgets that kept products tucked away on specialty shelves. Jordan, however, applied the exact same aggressive rollout strategy that turned his own signature line into a global cultural phenomenon. Massive billboards featuring Clark began appearing in major metropolitan centers. Primetime television commercials were produced with movie-level production budgets, and global distribution logistics were locked in before her rookie season even concluded. This massive display of corporate strength proved that when top-tier investment is poured into women's sports, the financial return isn't just decent, it is completely revolutionary. Stephen A. Smith's fiery commentary on First Take served as the ultimate wake-up call for an industry that spent far too long making excuses for sluggish growth. Smith openly laughed at commentators who claimed that Clark's rapid rise was unfair to the pioneers who paved the way before her. On air, he repeatedly emphasized that sports history is always driven by individual, transcendent figures who lift the collective floor for everyone else, drawing direct comparisons to how Michael Jordan elevated NBA salaries across the entire league during the 1990s. Smith argued that instead of wiping away tears and plotting ways to check her momentum, veteran players should be publicly thanking Clark and studying Jordan's playbook to secure their own financial freedom. His sharp words exposed the deep insecurity sitting at the heart of the anti-Clark sentiment, framing it not as a legitimate basketball debate, but as pure envy wrapped in corporate double-talk. As rumors of the Jordan-backed independent exhibition tour continue to gather steam, major television networks and global streaming platforms are already positioning themselves to secure exclusive broadcasting rights. The prospect of seeing Clark lead an elite roster of domestic and international stars in high-octane, prime-time exhibition matches during the traditional Wnba off-season has sports media executives salivating. A standalone broadcast package owned directly by Clark and Jordan's media syndicate would command astronomical rights fees, effectively generating more revenue in a few winter months than traditional overseas contracts could provide over an entire career. This move directly threatens the scheduling leverage of international leagues and forces domestic administrators to re-examine their own operational calendars if they hope to keep their star players engaged year-round. The ripple effects of this deal are also causing massive waves across the collegiate landscape, where high school and college prospects are dramatically changing how they manage their name, image, and likeness agreements. Young athletes are no longer signing simple, short-term promotional deals for quick cash. They are actively demanding equity stakes, long-term brand ownership, and direct input on product lines, referencing Clark's historic deal with Jordan as the absolute gold standard. Agents across the country are completely retooling their negotiation strategies, telling corporate brand managers that standard endorsement money is no longer enough to secure elite talent. Caitlin Clark didn't just break collegiate scoring records on the hardwood. She permanently disrupted the business mechanics of high school, college, and professional sports recruitment simultaneously. Inside the boardroom, Michael Jordan's calculated play is being viewed by financial analysts as one of the most brilliant strategic investments of his post-playing career. By securing a dominant position in the rapidly expanding market of women's professional athletics, at the exact moment of its exponential growth, Jordan has positioned his brand to dominate a whole new demographic sector for the next 30 years. Analysts estimate that the long-term enterprise value of the Jordan-Clark partnership could easily push past hundreds of millions of dollars in net retail sales, media rights, and global licensing fees. Jordan didn't enter this space out of charity or simple curiosity. He entered it because he recognized a massive, undervalued market, ready for absolute disruption, and he possessed the capital and clout to execute it flawlessly. The intense drama surrounding this situation shows no signs of slowing down as the league prepares for its next CBA negotiations, where player compensation, revenue-sharing models, and independent marketing rights will be fiercely debated. Veteran players who previously held conservative positions are now coming to terms with the reality that Clark's deal has completely shifted the baseline expectation for athlete compensation. The union leadership is facing immense internal pressure from a younger generation of players who want to tear down outdated earnings caps and adopt the ultra-lucrative, equity-driven structures modeled by Jordan Brand. The old ways of doing business are simply incapable of holding the weight of modern athlete power, and every executive sitting at the negotiation table knows it. What makes this entire saga so captivating for millions of fans across the globe is the clear contrast between the old guard's desperate resistance and the sheer, unstoppable momentum of modern star power. While traditionalists spend their time on television sets complaining